Hey, Ronnie, it's so great to have you here at the Digi Dialogue Series. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to get right to it.
Yep.
Lots of questions. Can you share a little bit of a background, a little peek into who you are, as much personal information you want to add or not, but just sort of a general overview. Who is Ronnie?
So sure. I started my career in marketing research about 20 years ago. And I did consumer behavior research for furniture brands, corporations, ad agencies, and started in the telephone interview market research, where people would call on the phone and like try and do a survey. I worked for a company here locally that did that for several years. And while I was there, I went back to school and got my MBA at the Citadel here in Charleston. And when I finished up, I went to the owner and was like, I have this degree, like this is a small company. Like, do I have any options here? Like, do I have someplace to go? And he was like, I'm going to be very truthful with you. No, once I retire, like I'm closing the company.
Oh,
So I started on the hunt for something new and found another market research company out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I ended up going to their company as their operations director. And so while I was there, I ran their company, but I also did research too. It's another one of those small companies where you kind of do everything. So I have up there, I got to do a lot more like focus groups and dinner discussions and ethnography and a lot more online survey kinds of things because telephone surveying was starting to go out the window. And in 2008, the economy crashed. And when the economy start to go into a recession, the first budget corporations cut is market research. It's not an operating expense. It's not payroll. It's not rent. It's not real estate. So market research gets, pushed out the window. And so the partners came to me and said, you're the MBA here. What do we do? And I said, well, our biggest expense is people. We're in the people business. So we're consultants. And then rent. And we can't do anything about rent unless we're filing bankruptcy. And we're not to that point yet. So we decided to lay off people, but I was not one of them. And in the midst of that, I said, you don't have an idea for a company. And I pitched it to the partners and they were like, that's a great idea. We'll be your first client. And they're still my client today, 15 years later.
oh my God, I
I
love
will,
that
yeah.
story.
So, and I will talk to them this afternoon, actually. So, I mean, I've been with them now for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
That's very cool. Thank
Yeah.
you
So
for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I started my entrepreneur journey. And so I've been on my own since then, working with all kinds of clients. Like they range all over the place for all different kinds of things, mostly in the marketing realm. I work with small businesses. And I kind of have this unique background of being a market researcher for so many years before I started. But market research is one of those things, it's kind of a big business service, right? Like it's expensive. Even working with the companies that I worked with in the agencies, I mean, we didn't do a project for less than $25,000. Like it's expensive. And so it was, for me, one of my missions was to take that kind of market research methodologies and bring it to small business owners in a way that they didn't have to spend $25,000 on research, but they could still use some of those techniques and understanding of data to make sound decisions with their marketing. And so that's kind of why my platform is like marketing is a science. And so I just feel like with that, we can use data points and facts to make decisions on facts rather than emotion.
Okay, I love it. And that's a perfect segue. And I want to mention to our listeners and viewers and our hidden in Zoom studio audience that you have a great resource that you offer for free. And I'll talk about that later when we set things up. So let's talk about the science of marketing. What is that? How do you define that? And then what are the brass tacks of it?
For me, it's about analytics. It's about taking analytics, though, and turning those into a story that people actually understand. So with marketing, I have always had this. I mean, anybody else can probably tell you as well. When you work with small business owners and you walk in and you say, what's your biggest challenge? Every single one's going to say marketing. And that's because as a discipline, it's not a profession like a doctor where you have this base of knowledge that you learn and memorize, and you just move forward with that. Marketing changes constantly. It changes with technology. It changes with people. It's this hybrid between data points and soft skills with people and creative and the art. And so it's really hard to pinpoint the things in marketing to do because there's just so much. And every expert out there gives you the things you should do. And so we all start piling on all the shoulds of marketing. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, I've just created myself a 40-hour work week doing nothing but marketing, and none of it's working. And so that's kind of where I really like to approach it, that we go, okay, let's step back for a second. Let's see, what do the data points actually tell us in this of what is working, what could work better, and what you need to improve. And so when I work with my clients, and this is probably a good place for me to kind of insert an example more than anything. I have one client that teaches, he's an ISO engineer. So he teaches international standards to manufacturers because they have to be compliant. And over the past few months, we're transitioning into an online course platform. It's more scalable. I mean, we know all of the business strategy behind all of that. In that, we've had the conversation about marketing, and he came to me a month ago and was like, okay, we have $1,000. Let's run a campaign. Where should we run it? Like, I think Google Ads would work best. And I'm like, I'm going to be honest, like, looking at our data, I'm looking at our traffic on our website. We're an online platform. They can purchase online. We're getting easily 2,000 visits a month on our website, and we have sold 0. That means our conversion rate is 0, but we are getting traffic. So our problem isn't traffic, it's conversion. So how can we spend that $1,000 on improving conversion so that those 2,000 people actually are working? Why drive more traffic to something that's not going to convert? It's a waste of money.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. Yes,
So,
totally. Yeah.
yeah. So those data points, looking at that, and even so, I mean, that's easy math right there. When you have 2,000 visits and 0 sales, like, you don't even need my calculator that I have, because even 0.01% conversion is better than 0.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
you use those numbers to create that story, and you pinpoint the places that need improvement, so that now if we spend $1,000 on getting a copywriter that specializes in conversion, now we've increased our conversion on the site. Then next month with that $1,000, now we can drive more traffic and increase sales. So I think it's that kind of looking at those hard data points to make sound decisions, rather than him just emotionally going, I need more sales. Like, let's throw some money into Google AdWords.
Oh, that makes total sense. And that really sheds some light really on the value of understanding
Yep.
the science of marketing. And whether you're a large mega corporation or a small business owner, you can use that framework. So thank you for that example. That was key.
Yeah.
So what do you think, in your experience, folks get wrong about online marketing? Like, I know when we last spoke, we had a nice conversation about this, but I thought it was an interesting topic. So when people think of marketing, what do they kind of get wrong about it, in your opinion?
I think that I notice with my clients, we get a couple of things. One, they get into the shoulds of, everybody says, I should be on Instagram, I should be on Facebook, I should be on LinkedIn. When in actuality, all of those platforms might not work for you and your brand. I think it's very specific to you and your brand and your product. But we get so caught up in other people doing digital marketing that we have so much content thrown at us that we think we should be doing it all. And if you're doing it all, like, you're not doing anything really well. And the other thing I think that particularly small business owners get really caught up in is the short term of it. They jump into it going, I'm doing marketing, I'm going to do this for a week, and I'm going to make $1 million. It's going to be great.
Like the TikTok dance, right? I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, I better get on the TikTok and do the dancing in order to build
Yeah.
an amazing audience in like overnight.
Exactly. And so they're very short-sighted in marketing, and marketing is the long game. Like it has to build on top of itself over and over again. And I think that small business owners, one, they get very excited, and that's amazing.
Mhm.
But then with that excitement, they don't give it enough time.
Yeah.
And then they also get bored. So consumers really, it used to be that consumers needed to see something 7 times before they actually remembered it. And
Mhm.
now with the way kind of social media works and all the content that's thrown at us, people need to see things 20 times before they actually remember them. Like that's a lot of touch points. And so I think that what small business owners really do is they're saying the same messaging over and over and over again. And they're like, I'm saying the same thing over again. Everybody's bored. I'm bored.
Yeah.
Like, let's switch it up. And then they don't give anything enough time because they've gotten bored.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And because there's always some new thing, like when you
Always.
look at now, everyone's talking about AI and what does that mean around content creation and digital
Yeah.
marketing. And on one hand, you have to be aware of these things, these
Yep.
shifts, these changes and opportunities. But you also have to remain focused on what you're doing, to your point, to realize that return on investment.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot when you say, when you made reference to like, oh, I'm going to do this thing and boom, I'm going to have an immediate success. And that I hear that a lot around like SEO.
Yeah. Oh,
Karen,
yeah.
our SEO expert, and will be a future expert here, but people, that's definitely an example where you invest in it and it takes a little time to build traction.
Exactly.
How can business owners use, small business owners primarily, use digital marketing to build relationships, right, with potential clients or and even their current clients? Because I'm a relationship marketing person. It's not the transactional stuff, it's the relational stuff. And I'd love to hear your take on whether it's a specific example or a philosophically on how to use digital online marketing to build
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah. So social media is called social media for a reason. It's supposed to be social. I mean, why it was invented. That's what it's created for. It's supposed to be social, hence creating engagement and relationships on those platforms. I think digital marketing is one of those things we get caught up in digital marketing in the traffic driving and the cold traffic, and we use social media and digital marketing to always be trying to get this cold traffic and more people, when in actuality you need to nurture the people that you already have. Because particularly in service-based businesses, I don't know about you guys, but for me as a business owner, and in the 15 years that I've been working for myself, I can tell you right now, as well as I'm sitting here, I have never once had somebody purchase something from me on my website that I didn't know. They've never even purchased something from me on my website if they didn't know me. Like every single client I've ever had has come because of either a relationship to somebody, a referral, or a relationship that I have created with them in some way. And that's very particularly true for service-based businesses. But I also have an e-commerce-based company. And to be honest, like, while yes, our digital marketing goal is always to kind of drive traffic, we kind of use that this is going to be a bad term and I mean it this way, but don't mean it this way. We kind of use digital marketing in almost this like set it and forget it way of, we run a campaign, we post on social media to keep top of mind with things and try and drive traffic. But then once they kind of come into our world, the reason that they buy and the reason that they keep buying from us is we package really well. They get emails from us all the time. We interact with them on Facebook Messenger as like that's kind of our service channel if they have any issues. They get great packaging from us. Like we are very high touch then once they kind of the cold traffic comes in and they become a client. And so the digital marketing for us is really just the catalyst to start the relationship. And I think that that's true both in a service-based business and in a consumer-based business, you know, a product-based business as well. That digital marketing needs to give the messaging of, we're actually humans behind this, and like, let's create a relationship, like, come into my world, let's now start to create a relationship so maybe we can work together.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question. But before I get to that, is that, so what I'm hearing is that, you know, marketing is a vehicle, but there's always a human being that's very key to that. And whether a service-based business where it's really about relationship, whereas product-based is more about a thing, it's different, but it's still important for regardless of the type of business. So going back to that human element to online marketing, I mentioned earlier AI. I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether what you see as AI playing in online marketing or any other trends in online marketing that might make sense to help leverage relationship stewardship.
Yeah. So this is so new kind of in our world recently. And I have a client that is 100% into it. He loves it. And kind of how he uses it. And I see the trend for marketers moving forward. It's still kind of this Wild West a little bit of, this is going to be a while before we figure out how we can even use this, but he's already taken it and used it in asking questions, getting a nice solid base, and then taking that content and now creating from it as what we call an FSD on the first draft of something, and then now creating content out of it, right? Like, actually then while you might get the I guess more sterile kind of way of information that you would say put in a blog post or even divvy it up into a, you know, social media post or a white paper or, you know, anything like that. Now I have a base to start content that makes content writing so much easier. Because I don't know about you, but when it comes to content writing, like scheduling social media and then like all of that stuff's the easy part. Like, it takes like 5 minutes. You schedule it, you forget it, like whatever. But to sit down and look at a blank page and start writing something for content, like that's the time consuming piece, is the actual like writing of content.
That is a really great takeaway from that, because starting with a blank page is harder than starting with something and then wordsmithing it, massaging it. I have noticed on LinkedIn, I'm really engaged on that platform. It's my number one place to connect with folks and build relationships. And I've been prompted by LinkedIn to say, hey, here, we want experts like you to try out this thing. And they're using AI to craft content, and then asking you to review it and give feedback on what that content has to offer. So why not use it so you can get down a little bit further down the pike, as opposed to starting from square one? What do you think are the top 3 things or so that small businesses should pay attention to when it comes to online marketing?
I think that with small businesses and online marketing, it's one of the first place to start is, who is your target audience and where are they at? You know, it's one thing for you to be on Instagram and putting great content on Instagram when your actually target is on LinkedIn. So I think that's important, understanding who your target is and who you serve and being where they are. I also think it's really important with digital marketing for you to look at it in 2 ways of, there's 2 strategies to it with digital marketing. There's the strategy of getting out there in front of people to be able to get them to you, so cold traffic, but then also nurturing the warm traffic that is there. And so approaching an actual marketing strategy in 2 different strategies in that way. And I think the other thing is you don't have to jump on every single trend out there. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. It's okay. TikTok has been one of those things that's been like a huge question for me lately with a lot of clients and people. And, you know, my answer for it is TikTok is really seeing some great case studies on brands and businesses that are making it really work. Like it is a viable platform. There is opportunity there, but you need to know, is your target there?
Exactly.
Does it fit your brand? And is it something you want to do? Personally, for me, I look at it and go, I don't need another vice. I already spend enough time on Instagram. I don't have another 2 hours in a day to go scroll through TikTok and work it as well. And that's a personal choice for me. So I think that we get into the shoulds of what we should be doing. I should be on TikTok. It's the new thing. But in actuality, I shouldn't, because I'm not. Like, I don't have enough time to do it. I'm not interested in doing it. But if works for you, great. I'm excited for you. I will like help and support all I can, but personally, I'm not going to do it.
That's
so I think it really comes down to thinking about it in a strategy, but you also have to really kind of put yourself into it as well. Like, what am I willing to do?
And that's the big question, isn't it? Thank you so much, Ronii. This has been such a pleasure to spend this time really digging into your wisdom. And what's the best way for folks to connect with you?
So email is always great with me. So hello@RoniiBartles.com. My website's RoniiBartles.com. That's another good spot. And if you want to hang out with me socially, I am an Instagram girl. So you can find me at I am Ronii over on Instagram. And
yes, and I want to mention to our viewers and listeners, Ronii is Ronii.
Correct.
But I'll be putting links in the show notes and everything. So thank you, Ronii.
No, thank you.